Welcome everybody to the Culture Shock Podcast. This is your boy Pat Bayless. I'm in the building with Taylor.
I made you nervous.
Yeah, you did. And I'm back in the building with Zari in the building.
What's up? What's up?
What up? Taylor got me all fucked up today.
Ooh, I got him flustered. That's why you turned
did.
pink.
Real
Come on,
pink.
you didn't fall for it all night.
I
She
know.
got you.
And now she got me. You know, there's no liquor. And today we got a very special guest. My guy Zach in the building, the host of the Journey podcast. What's up, man? How you doing?
Welcome.
Good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Very good. Zach, I just want you to start off before we really get into like the podcast and everything. Just let people kind of know where you from and just the background of just where you come from and everything.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, from Long Island, from Huntington Station. Grew up, went to 5 different high schools. I was a basketball guy, so like transferring, Whitman, St. Anthony's, Southampton, Upper Room, did the whole thing. And basically basketball was like my entire life. Like I lost my mom when I was 12, and from that moment, like basketball was her favorite sport to watch me play, and I just kind of dedicated my life to it, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So I'd say from 12 to 25, basketball was it, and traveled the country playing at 5 different colleges in Alabama, Louisiana, Texas. I lived in the Virgin Islands. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
That's cool.
So that was really it. So it's weird, like athletes, when they like dedicate their life to something and then the sport stops, a lot of them don't know what to do after. And for me, I got lucky where the podcast kind of just fell into my lap, and I took all the mindset and everything that I had from basketball and I just transferred that to the podcast.
That's what's up.
But yeah, for the most part, bro, like just a regular, Long Island kid and hometown kid, and played basketball, and then I fell into this.
What year did you graduate?
2015.
So do you know who Darian? You know Darian?
Yeah, that's my boy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So okay, yeah. I was gonna say you didn't get to play against him though.
No, I didn't.
Right?
I played it in all the crunch time,
Yeah,
and everything. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so now Reed must have run past then easily, because in
For
crunch
sure.
time
I saw you at his event at
Island Work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was filming. I was
Tay
filming.
was there too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's up. Nah, that's dope. That's really dope. So how did the podcast fall into your lap?
So I was in, it was 2019. I was at Howard College in Big Spring, Texas, middle of nowhere, Texas. It's like the desert. Cactus is like one McDonald's, you know what I mean? Like one Walmart, that's it. And it was my sophomore year at JUCO. I had my best summer leading up into that. I was most athletic. My shot felt the best. Like I was like, all right, this is my last shot. I'm gonna get a Division I scholarship. Like I had a few schools texting me, like Prairie View A&M, Nicholls State, Northwestern State, some SWAC schools, and I get to Texas, and the third day, I break my wrist.
That's the worst.
So now I'm out from August to October, get into the starting lineup by the 4th game. The 6th game, I get a bone contusion in my left knee, out, come back, Christmas break, December 26th, day after Christmas, come do a floater, come down, land on my knee, and microfracture in my right knee, out for the year, 8 months.
Damn.
So now I'm in Texas, middle of nowhere, nothing to do. Basketball, the one thing, like the love of my life, is taken from me yet again. This has been like an ongoing battle with injuries that I've been fighting, and I'm just laying in bed. And this is why like me and my co-host Jake, we sometimes we're like, why do we even question this? Because it's so like destined, it's so like written already. So I'm laying in bed. I'm like, I don't like to use the word depressed, you know what I mean? Whatever, but like this is the lowest I've ever been, like outside of me losing my mom. And I'm laying in bed, I'm scrolling on Instagram. Jake and I have been best friends when we were in middle school. Fell apart. He went to go play football. I played basketball. I probably haven't spoke to him in like 7-8 years. Still follow him. So I'm scrolling and I see a podcast clip. And I'm like, it's this dude Mike and Modson. And Modson is an artist who battled with depression, anxiety, drug addiction, all that stuff. And he's talking about like when he hit rock bottom. And I felt like I resonated with the clip. So I hit my boy up. I was like, yo, what is this? And he's like, yo, it's a podcast. Go check it out. Never looked at a podcast day in my life. And I had so much time. I was laying in bed in crutches, couldn't even walk. So I watched like 30 podcasts in like a week. And I was like, I want to do this. So fast forward, COVID hits. We get sent home. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start this thing. And some names came, and then I was like, yo, my life has been a journey, you know, and not knowing that there was 1,000 The Journey podcasts. You know what I mean? I didn't even look at what was out there already.
Right.
And I reached out to him, Jake, again, because he started dabbling with the camera once he stopped playing football. And I was like, yo, would you want to produce my podcast? And he said, no, because I'm going to want to give you a friendly fee, but now that doesn't make sense for me for the amount of time it's going to put in. So I said, okay,
Right.
would you want to come on as a guest, episode 3? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. I actually had a Rella on episode 2, and then Femi episode 1.
Okay.
So that was how I started it. Yeah, it was, and that like rekindled our friendship, and that was 2020 summer, and we just started doing it, you know, and we went into it with no expectations. I feel like a lot of people who start a podcast, you go into it and you're like, oh, I'm going to go viral. Everyone's going to watch. Like, bro, nobody's going to support you. Like, they might watch the first episode. They might watch the first episode, but like after that, they don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, people have their own shit going on, and like, I get it. But I think that was our biggest contributor to our success, is like going into it with no expectations. Didn't care if we got 12 views, 5 views, 50 views. Like when we cracked 100 views, like we were happy.
Right.
You know, our first clip that got 10,000 views, it was like we threw a party, you know? So like, and it just happened so organically. And, you know, and to look back, you know, from 3 years ago to see where we're at now with the podcast of people we've interviewed, like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think that's what I kind of tell them too. Like, it's
Pat be
just
yelling at us.
Nah, I don't. But I feel like it's like a level of like you got to be professional, but you also got to have kind of like that, like an expectation, like a goal you want to reach, but you got to understand that's a process. You know what I'm saying? Like they both bring so much to just who they are as like individuals, so it's like it's easy for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's like not everybody's gonna watch them right away until you're speaking or she's speaking or they speaking about something that they want to hear. That's when people start to tune in. So I think that's dope, and you have that level of, you know, maturity to be like, it's gonna come when it comes.
You know what's crazy?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't even know that was the name of the podcast, and I'm listening to you, and I'm like, damn, his life has been a journey.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like,
See?
I love how you said, like, why do we even question this? Like, that's insane. Like, to be able to understand that already and be so far and be going further, like, that's insane. I'm like inspired.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's hard because, bro, podcasts don't make money. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a crazy statistic. It was like 90% of podcasts after episode 3 stop. And then of the 10% that get past episode 3, 90% of those stop after episode 20. So if you complete 20 episodes of a podcast, you're in the top 3% of all podcasts in history after 20 episodes.
Wow.
In your opinion, why do you think that is?
Because it doesn't make money, and it's time consuming, and you have to care about it. And
you do have to have some type of a love.
Oh, you have to. Yeah, if you don't love it, it's never gonna work. It's gonna fizzle out because it takes a while, you know. Especially starting, like, you know, you see all the NFL guys, NBA guys, celebrities start a pod. Yeah, they bring their millions of followers right away.
Yeah.
When you try to do it like as a nobody, it's one of, I think it is the hardest thing to do in content is create a successful podcast.
That is very true.
I'm glad you were able to find something you loved. That's amazing. Because that basketball, that's tough.
Yeah, I didn't even know I loved it. You know, like I didn't even know I loved it.
Yeah, that's a different avenue. I feel like most basketball players that, like, you know, because I had a lot of injuries in my time. Like, I ended up not being able to play pretty much again. And my injuries were like as frequent, like as you, like I'm talking one a year. Like it was like every time I got healed, okay, bet now we're gonna hurt something else. So I know like what that feels like mentally and stuff. And I feel like most of the time you tend to go in a route of like coaching and things of that nature. So I think it's fire that you went a completely different route with this.
Well, I did dabble with that, and I realized I didn't like it. Yeah. I coached AAU, you know, I coached for Boys to Men, Long Island. You know, I created a training business. Like that was my job last year. Like I literally built a whole thing called College Ready Training. I had like 35, 40 kids.
Wow.
And it got to the point as like the podcast started elevating, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, you know? Like I was just like kind of fed up with basketball. So yeah, that's what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to go coach college. Yeah.
What was the moment, because I always say it and I always try to put it into the air, but like what was the moment that really pushed the podcast? Like that one moment you could say like, that's what catapulted it.
November 14th.
Oh, you got a date.
Right.
I like that.
It was so my boy, my co-host Jake, he went down to Miami, tried to do the like videography thing. So he was doing videos for like Steve Will Do It. He was on the Yachtcast, all these celebrities filming Lamborghinis, doing the whole thing. But there's not much money in videography either, especially when you're coming up. So he made a bunch of connections down there, and he would come home to New York periodically, and we would rip like 5 podcasts in 3 days. Like he would come home for a weekend, we'll do 5 pods in 3 days, and then have content for the month. And we did it all summer. We tried to do a podcast in a hot tub. We called it the fucking Tubcast. It was
Okay.
actually pretty cool.
That's fun.
It was fun, you know. And,
Taylor, you know what's next.
Yeah. They trying to see my pod on a pod.
But yeah, bro, I stopped the pod my junior year. I was playing at Old Westbury. I was having a really good year. I was like top 5 in the country in every offensive category.
Damn.
I was like, I'm about to go, like 3-point shooting, free throw percentage, everything. And I was like, yo, I'm about to just go pro. I got a contract to go play in Armenia. I was like, fuck it, I'm just not going to graduate. I'm just going to go hoop. But this is kind of when all the shit was going on in the Middle East, like between Russia and Ukraine.
Right.
Armenia is like right there. It's for $1,400 a month. And I'm like, do I really want to do this? My coach talked me out of it. But during that whole season, I stopped the pod. Like if you go back on our YouTube, like you can see there was probably like a 4 or 5 month gap, no episodes, nothing posted. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this shit one last try. And I told my boy, I'm like, yo, just teach me how to edit, because I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know anything.
Man, it's a process.
So I was literally like, yo, just teach me how to edit. I'm gonna take this shit to TikTok and I'm gonna post 4 times a day until we blow up.
Shit.
So I started in April of 2022. I posted 4 times a day, and then November 14th we had our first viral clip. The shit got 700,000 views. We got
Wow.
like 4,000 followers overnight. We went from, I don't know, 900 followers to like almost 5K, and we're like, oh shit.
Wow.
And then I post another clip, and then I go viral. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he looks at me, and he's like, yo, we got something. And, bro, then we just kept doing the 3 times, 4 times a day. And I think, right now we're at, in 1 year, we're at 247,000 followers, 10.3 million likes, and we've done over 200 million views.
He got the stats down.
Yeah.
Nah,
But you see what I'm saying?
But
I
what it
told
is-
y'all that shit
Yeah.
is important.
What's great about like Taylor's very when it comes to that stuff, like viral.
I actually
and
just
doing
went viral
stuff.
myself.
Yeah. So it's, you know what I'm saying? But that's when you love it, like you said, when you love it, you know the numbers, you know the
That's what's
time,
up.
you know
Yes.
everything. Like I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm up at night just thinking of ideas constantly
Oh, all night.
running through. Oh, I got something. Let me write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially me, I forget everything. So let me write it down. Let me write these questions. I'm overly prepared, like stressed. Like you can ask Tay, I'll come in here. She's like, bro, you need a drink. Like I'm like,
Relax.
I'm
We
stressed.
drink on every pod.
You see?
Yeah.
Every pod.
Like,
Yeah.
relax.
It brings out the shit in you.
Something wrong
Yeah.
with us. Like, yeah, why
Right
we
there
doing
making
this?
me
We're
feel
like,
like
no.
I'm wild.
Nah.
Like I got a problem. We finna drink. Let's have a good time. It's
Yeah.
supposed to flow naturally.
Yeah.
I be telling him that. See,
No, but you
You would've
say that
read, yeah.
before we even start.
no, but you don't listen.
It's good that you could do, like with or without.
It's good
Yeah.
to be
That's great for-
serious.
good for you.
You know? But
Nah, I'll be
loosen
fun. Nah,
up.
she trying to
He's
act
such a
like
dad.
I'm
I
Oh my
can't
gosh,
take it.
Pat.
Yeah, I definitely be stressed about it. I'll
He be
like,
coming in here
"Alright, we
pink
just
as
gotta be
hell."
perfect, but I guess my bad. I guess like flow, it just happens naturally.
Yeah, it helps. Like, and I it's crazy. Last night I was scrolling through my own YouTube. I went back and watched my first episode with Femi. It was like cringy watching. I'm like, I'm nervous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could tell I'm saying like every other word. I'm
Mhm.
scratching my head for no. It looks, you know what I mean? I'm
Right.
scratching my leg. I'm like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It was. I had to turn it off. I'm like, what
At
is
least
that?
you noticed
Please.
it. Yeah.
But it was cool to see that I can go from that to, I think we just dropped episode 102 and just a difference of 100 episodes. You start a podcast, you're not going to be good right away. You know what I mean? You pick up a basketball, you're not going to be good right away.
So I have a question for that because it's very relatable. What did you and your co-host do in order to get better blend with each other? What was
So-
your strategies behind that?
So I think it helped that we had a friendship in middle school. You know, like
Mhm.
I was the quarterback, he was the center. Like my
Mhm.
fucking hands running. You know what I mean?
That's
It was on his ass.
like, you know, like his
Yeah.
dad
You gonna be
is
fucking close.
right, you know, and we there's no reason for us to be co-hosts. Like, we're complete opposites. That's why I think we work. He's your 6'2", charismatic, Italian, loud, goofy dude that's, you know, he has a huge ego. He was the life of the party. I'm more reserved. I'm more like observant. I'm like seeing what's going on. He's like the celebrity to go into the party and dance. Like, I'm talking to the manager, you know, trying to lock in the pot, like the guest, you know, for the pot. So I think that's why it
Sounds like me. Sounds like me.
I'm him.
so I think that works, and it really was. It was really just like therapy for us. I suppressed my feelings about my mom like my entire life. Like, I didn't talk about it. I was 12, you know, and I didn't really know what happened. I just knew she died, but like I didn't know how to speak about it. And on the pod, it was just a place for me where like there's no phones, there's just direct eye contact, there's no distractions, and you just actually like talk about like what you're actually feeling. And then when I would go back and edit, like I would learn about myself on the episode. I'm like, damn, like I didn't even know like I felt like that, you know, because it just flows so naturally. Like, my dad watches, and he was like, I learned more about you on the podcast than I did in your 26 years of living.
Makes sense.
It be like that.
It
I'm
really
telling you,
do.
it be like that.
It's crazy, you know, and we just kind of like we never, not once, have prepared for a podcast between him and I. We literally start. If you go back and watch, we start every single podcast. How you doing? That's it.
Shit.
You know, and like,
Wow.
and
That's good.
you know,
I'm too
and
nervous for that.
and yeah,
I be
it's
too.
and yeah, there's times where you know you get stuck, whatever, but it's it just flowed, and like obviously we got better over time, and even with guests we try not to prepare that much. We like to have like a light framework, because we interviewed Neil TPT, Timepiece Trading. I don't know if you're familiar with that. He's like the biggest watch dealer in Miami. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
like sells watches to everyone. We interviewed him in his office, and leading up to that in Miami, we prepared. Like, we watched 4 of his podcasts. We wrote down every question, and we got there. It was robotic, because I already knew everything I was already asking him.
Right.
So now we just like to kind of go into it with more of a light framework, have a conversation.
Be
And-
surprised.
Exactly. And be curious. That's the whole point. As
Yeah.
as an interviewer, you want to be curious of your guests. You don't want to
Right.
know everything already.
Right.
So, yeah, bro, it just, I don't really know how we got better or got more comfortable. It just reps. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You want to be a better shooter, you shoot the ball.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? We did 100 episodes. You look at Joe Rogan, the best in the world. He's done 3,000 episodes.
Right.
Yeah, that's
You
a
know?
lot.
That is very true. Wow.
That's
Wow.
a lot.
I would
That's
like
a
to say that I've said a lot of this before. I just feel like I had to say that.
You're giving Tay a bunch of ammunition.
Yes,
for
because
later.
it's true. Sometimes, you know, he always gets on me because I just wing it. I say I'm just wing it every episode, and it works out every single. And granted, when need be, I will prepare. But like, it's supposed to be natural.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a conversation. Look,
Because people
I'm
can
with Pat,
people
though. I
can
gotta be
feel it.
prepared.
People can feel the like if
If
you're
it's
if you're
robotic.
unauthentic.
Right.
That's why like people resonate with us like on our clips and stuff like that. Like I've cried, like I literally posted a video of me crying talking about my mom on the podcast the other day. You know what I mean? Like, you know how many messages I get from 12 to 18-year-old kids like, yo, I just lost my mom. How did you deal with
It's
it?
true.
I
It's
have
true.
thousands of messages from kids. Like I can't even answer all of them, you know? Like my co-host Jake speaks about anxiety and all that stuff and panic attacks that he dealt with. You know what I mean? He has 125,000 followers now because people resonate with what he's talking about.
Do you have topics at least, or you don't even know what you're gonna talk about when you go on? You just
We
gonna chop it
really
up?
don't. We're about to start.
Okay.
We literally like
That's dope. Though.
like game plan on like a whiteboard the other night of like, yo, maybe we should start having like direct topics. Like we're gonna talk about relationships this pod. We're gonna talk about like mental health. We're gonna talk about like how to find your passion or find your purpose, you know, and have a little more direction, because we were like, I guess we ran this, you know, well dry, because we always ask each other how you doing, and we're like, yo, we felt the same the last 4 fucking months. That's why all the pods have been the same.
Yeah.
Because like nothing has changed in our
Right.
life. We ask how
Right.
you doing. I feel the same that I felt fucking last episode and the episode before that. So
Right.
that's why we're gonna make a pivot, and that's what we always do. Like that's the most important thing with podcasts. Like you gotta continuously pivot. Like
Keep it
continue
fresh. It's
Yeah.
the hardest thing to do is when you thinking about shit is like really keeping it fresh and keeping people kind of locked in. You know what I'm saying? The people that do watch, keeping them locked in, and keeping people that haven't watched, giving them that list of different things they can watch, you know?
Yeah.
Talk about your sponsorship. I know you guys got sponsored.
Yeah, Evermore. Water right here. Yeah, Evermore. It's an alkaline water. The company is based out of Louisiana. It's from like a natural artesian well. Like when you crack open the bottle, it's the first time the water's ever hit like oxygen or something like that. I want to say July. I was just like, I'm like, yo, like we should probably try to reach out for a sponsor. Like, so I just started cold DMing every company, every brand on Instagram, and a few people answered, a few didn't, most didn't show interest, and Evermore hit us back. Was like, yo, let's jump on a call. And she was like a young girl, 25, and she kind of like
That's
resonated
fire.
with us, you know what I
Right.
mean? And she was super cool. And we jumped on like 2 or 3 calls, and they were like, yo, like, we love you guys. You know what I mean? Like, you got, we haven't sponsored, we don't have any podcasts sponsored. We just kind of sponsor influencers and some athletes and NFL, MLB, whatever. And yeah, bro, they sent us, bro, we didn't even read the fucking contract.
We saw, yeah, I'm a sign.
We saw the money that we were getting. We said, okay, sign.
Right.
Like, we could have, you know what I mean? We had no idea. Like,
Yeah.
we literally, like, you should have, like, brought it to, like, a lawyer or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
whatever. We're like, fuck it, bro. We're getting, like, we're making money doing this podcast right now. Like, this is insane.
Right.
That,
Right.
Like, we're getting every month, like, a check direct deposited to say, like, this episode's brought to you by,
Nah,
and
that's
it.
fire.
But, I mean, since our platform isn't that big yet, we did have to offer some type of value prop. So at the
Right.
end, like, we are videographers on the back end as well. Like, we understand cameras, production, and all that. So we shot them. I don't know. I'll show you guys after. Like, we shot them like a commercial, like for the
Oh, fire.
Oh yeah, it was like a Nike commercial. Like we
That's
literally like we
right.
went to like Robert Moses at 5 a.m, and I was in the ocean filming and he's swimming like Michael Phelps. Like yeah, so like that was a little more of a value prop. Like yes, we're gonna do our best to get guests. Take a picture with the guests, and then we're also gonna shoot you guys content that you can use for your Instagram
That's
and
dope.
your company
Right.
as
Love
well.
for love.
Yeah, so yeah, it ended up working out, and they're great. We went to like an influencer event in the city. They invited us to this influencer alt-white party in the city. Like it's cool. Like
That's
it's like,
fire.
yeah,
Connections,
so,
man. You need
That's
connections.
really fire.
Yeah,
That's dope, man. Nah, listen, I don't know y'all. Obviously, me and you've had a conversation, but I'm proud of y'all because not everybody could say that in Long Island they doing that. You know what I'm saying? People start, but you about to say something?
Putting Long Island on the map.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, that's on like you putting Long Island on the map big time. So
Thank
we
you, bro.
definitely appreciate y'all. I
Appreciate
do
it.
kind of want to pivot a little bit here. Yeah. Have you ever been in life with somebody you felt was the right person, but it was just the wrong timing? I'll start with Zari right now.
Yeah,
Ouch,
let's hear
why
it.
me?
Mm.
I'm like, especially after listening to Zach, I'm like, so for like what's for you is for you. So I want to say no, because I feel like right person or even right place, right timing. Like it has wrong timing. That means it wasn't it for me.
Okay.
But who am I to say that? But I've never been able to like spin a block on a situation or a person, and it seemed like it was the right thing. Like if it's gone, I feel like you should let it go.
Have you spun the block?
Never spun a block.
Never got spun back on?
Actually, I'm probably lying. I just
I'm
want to say
probably
that.
She just wanted to-
I'm probably lying. It
Girl,
just felt
I know
good to
she's
say it
standing
like
on
that.
business,
It felt good
okay?
to say that. Nah, I felt
Yeah,
good to
just
say
practice
that.
it
I'm
for when it
lying.
makes sense.
I'm lying. So yeah, no, that's not true. But anytime I've ever spun the block, it didn't work. So that's
Got you.
what my point may be. You gotta let it go, probably. Like
Okay. What about you, Tay?
I agree. I'm not gonna lie. I don't spin the block. I'm not. That is the honest to God
Is
truth.
that pride?
Yes, 100%. Why the hell, if you put me through something, because more often than not, I always say, if this ends, it's because of you. It's not because of me. I mean, to a degree, it's because of me because I allowed you to do those things. But it's neither here nor there. I digress. But nah, I don't spin the block because absolutely not. You lose. Once I'm done, I'm done. Because I'll make sure that I deal with you to the point where I actually am like, and this isn't a good thing, so don't do this. But I will allow it to get to the point, like once I'm like mentally detached, I'm just gonna allow everything to play out. I'm gonna allow it to get as bad as it can, so that when I leave, it's like,
So
I'm
you
out.
want
Damn.
that shit to burn down?
yeah,
making sure you can't come back.
yeah, hell no.
Whoa, that's scary.
That's toxic.
And they all crash out about me now. So
That's
love you
toxic
guys.
as
You guys
hell.
are all cool people.
Right.
Wow. What about you, Zay?
Yeah, I do like. I try to align with the like everything does happen for a reason, but that I think me losing my mom at such a young age, like in a pivotal point, like in your life, it gave me attachment issues, or it made me like really take losing someone like really hard. So like even like high school relationships, like a breakup, like I would like really feel it, you know what I mean? Because it was like I lost the most important person in my life, and now it's like everyone that gets close to me, when I would lose them, like I would feel crushed again, you know what I mean? So I've definitely struggled with that, but it's I just think everything, you know what I mean? You just can't like I think about it like when you like think about it, when you try to force something, you know what I mean? Like, and the more you try, the more it goes the other way. The more there's more resistance, you know what I mean? When you kind of just like, Wayne Dyer has a quote like, open to everything, attached to nothing. So like you just have to allow things to flow. Like if you try to swim up a stream, you're going to eventually drown and die, you know? But if you just go with the flow of the stream, like there's going to be other avenues, right? Like there's going to be things to grab onto. There's going to be stuff like that. So especially when it comes to relationships, like I was in a 3-year relationship, it was the 3rd year last year, and like we broke up right around this time last year, and 3 days before the relationship ended, I called Jake, my co-host, because like now like the pod is starting to pick up, and like now we're thinking like, all right, we got to move to Miami, we got to do this, but now you have a partner, now you have to put her into every decision you make.
Right.
And I told him, I'm like, yo, if I could go back 3 years, I would have never gotten to this relationship, and I thought I was gonna marry this girl, and 3 days later she broke up with me.
Wow.
And
You felt that.
and I, you know what I mean? Like, and that's why it's crazy. Like sometimes,
Because you said that?
no,
or-
she had no idea.
Oh, okay.
She had no idea. Oh my
Okay.
God! Don't
Now
let
she
her be how
does.
she found
Now
out.
she does.
She gonna be beating our door
Wait,
down.
so it just so happened that you were feeling that way and she broke up with you?
Yeah.
Why do we question anything?
That's what
Right.
I'm
Oh my
saying. And I was
gosh.
like, but that's the thing. Like sometimes like we ask God for shit, and like we say we want all these things, but like we only look at it from the way that we want it to, you know, play out.
Yeah.
But like God has a different plan. So like I thought I didn't want her in my life anymore, but when she broke up with me, I was fucking heartbroken. You know what I mean? Like that shit
Yeah.
hurt. Like I was it
It
like
was like, oh, bet. Like you didn't want that? Okay.
yeah, exactly. So like I thought I wanted that, but like, and then obviously in retrospect, like it ended up working out for the better, you know what I mean? Like I'm happy where I'm at right now, but yeah, it is yeah, relationships are tricky, especially when you're on this like entrepreneurial grind
Yes.
and trying to do it, you know what I'm saying? Cuz like I could get a call tomorrow like, yo, we like have to move to Miami or we have to move to LA, and it's like I'm speaking to someone, and then it's like now you have to factor them in, and
Yep.
especially if you care about them, it's tough.
I was gonna say, how do you think that to this point, at least now in the last year, being that you've grown so much, how do you think that affects how you view yourself and being in a relationship within the next year, 2 years? Like, do you see that being a possibility, or are you like, nah, I'm just gonna chill out, focus on my work, and then when the time comes, it comes?
Yeah, so I guess after that relationship, I took like 8 months and just like really worked on myself. I was always against the, not against it, but like I always thought like the mental health stuff and the self-help was just like, yo, like I don't know, like my dad was like a blue collar guy, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like played sports, like shake it
Right.
off, like you'll be good, you know, like,
Yep.
and once that happened and there was a lot else going, I was like, the pod didn't like really happen yet. So I didn't have
Yeah.
any direction. I was like, basketball kind of didn't work. The pod's kind of a failure. My girl just broke up with me. Like I'm still living at the crib. Like I was like really, like it was the first time in my head, like where I was like, what the fuck am I about to do with my life?
Right.
So in the podcast with my co-host, like he suffered from like really bad anxiety, panic attacks in the hospital, like thought he was dying. So he dove deep into the self-help books. So he was like, yo, read The Alchemist. And that was the first book I read, bro. And I was like,
Great
holy
one.
shit, you know? And then I started diving into that, and I started doing like a little bit of meditation, a little bit of breath work, like reading books, watching more like podcasts like Jay Shetty and Diary of a CEO, and just really like trying to understand like why my brain is thinking like this. So to go back to your question, I took that time. I took 8 months to really work on myself, and then I felt like I was like, yo, I'm not touching a relationship. I'm
Right.
not going near anything like serious, whatever. And then and now I'm like kind of in something.
It's funny.
You know?
It's always how it goes.
You know,
happens
and like
when you
That's
least
funny.
it
expect.
just kind of
Yeah.
happened, you
You're
know.
in it
and-
after you did the work, so that's the good part.
And
Yeah.
that's
Like,
and that's the thing where it's like it's hard, right? Because like hurt people, and like there's a, you know, you would think like healed people heal people, and I don't think that's always the case.
No.
It's hard.
It's
Like
not.
you can't heal anyone. Like you have to
Yeah.
allow them to heal. So like what I've been in the last couple of months was like I was healed. So I thought like I could save her, but like she had just got out of a relationship. So like even like off rip, like the first couple months were a little rocky. You know what I mean? And it was hard. And like we're good now, but it was tough for me because I'm trying to like comprehend like why don't you see it the way I see it, or like, why don't you think it? But it's like I would have to put myself back into like just getting broken up with, just getting done wrong, whatever. And it's like I wouldn't have been ready right there to be a good partner or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't have intentions of doing anything, but like here I am and kind of in something, you know.
Yeah, I know for my whole 20s, it was just I never had time for myself ever. Like I always had something, you know what I'm saying? Even if it wasn't a girlfriend, I just had something.
Yeah.
So I never took that time until I probably was like 30 to really, all right, bro, you got serious issues with certain things. Like there's certain things mentally you got to get over. There's certain things mentally you got to dig into. That's why I started therapy at 29. Like it took a while and it took a lot of heartbreak or me doing dumb shit, you know? So sometimes when I think about like right person, wrong timing, there are some people that have been in my life that I felt were the right person, but I know mentally I just wasn't. I just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
You know, they may have been, but I wasn't. But also I could see y'all side where it's like, yeah, but they probably just wasn't. Just because you feel like they were the right person, they might not be the right person.
Yeah.
Like that just was a person that gave you that lesson, and that right person is when you're 33 or 34 and they're coming when you least expect it. So I think
a
play
lot
both sides on that.
I think a lot of times like I'm a victim of it. I don't know if you guys are. Like we get into something with someone and then like we set expectations of who we think they could be.
That
And
potential
then-
gonna kill you.
boy.
And then we stick around, and like I feel like that's what I did in that 3-year relationship where I was like, I'm like, I know like I saw more in you than you saw in yourself, and like I feel like you could be more, like I feel like this could be more, and we put a projection and potential on someone, and the longer you go of them not reaching that potential, the farther you kind of drift apart because it's like it's draining you because you're like why aren't you what I know you could be for me, you know?
Toughest thing, man.
And that's a huge problem. Like you can't change anyone. You'll never change anyone. You think you can change someone, you won't. The only time someone's going to change is when they need to make a change. And that's the toughest thing to accept, is to be like, yo, I'm going to change because I need to work on myself. Like you have to change so you can work on yourself. So then we come together, we're the best versions of ourselves. So many people are just like lackluster and half of who they could be. So then why do you think there's so much divorce and so many breakups? It's because you got half a person, they come together. Now you have a shitty relationship, and that happens over and over again. But once you take the time to go and work on yourself, and you need to find a partner that has went and worked on themselves. Now when you guys come together, you don't depend on each other for happiness. You're happy with who you are. She's happy with who she is. So now the relationship isn't dependent on the other partner making you happy.
Right. I think Zari gonna clip that and send it to a bunch of people.
I'm sending it
No, it's so
out.
amazing, for real. Even when I was thinking about just the fact that you took the time out to use the resources that your friend used, like a lot of people just won't do it. A lot of people want to stay where they are, and or not even want to stay where they are. They just don't know how to get themselves that help. So that in itself is like so huge, and it, how you deal with yourself is how you're gonna deal with your relationships in life. So a lot of people wonder why they're in the spot that they're in, and it's like everybody has to do the work. Like you have to bring 100% of yourself, like we were saying the other night, to the relationship. It's not 50-50. You're bringing 100%, that person's bringing 100%, or it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So I got an example for y'all, because y'all didn't really agree with the right person, wrong timing. How do y'all feel about Nelly and Ashanti?
Okay, so here's my thing about
that's Rocky.
Taylor
Yeah,
got
listen, hear me
Taylor
out,
locked
because this
in on
actually
that one.
kind of like ties with, it goes into the original first question you had.
Go ahead.
I feel like it's really perspective if you see that person as the right person, wrong time, because it by all technicalities, if you really think about it, it was the right person at the right time because you needed to learn that lesson at that time, or they needed to learn that lesson at that time. So it wasn't wrong. You was probably bound to go through it with that person or another to some degree. You know what I'm saying? So it's really perspective. I believe that they realized at the time they were not the right people for each other at all. They wasn't the right people, but they weren't necessarily, I don't think they would have been the right person for anybody else. Otherwise they wouldn't have spun back to each other.
Yeah.
they wouldn't be together now. So like none of the people that they were with for the time after were the right person. You know what I'm saying? So
But I'm sure all those people were, teaching them something at
Yeah.
that time. I think they're just very fortunate. Like, I think it's
Yeah.
a beautiful thing. I don't think everybody should try it. But
right, careful, try
I think
lightly.
it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful, and I'm happy for them. That's amazing.
I think a lot of people confuse like comfortability and connection.
Yes.
Like that's why a lot of people like spin back or they go back to their ex because it's comfortable. It's easy. Like you don't have to go through the talking stage again and getting to know them,
True.
meeting the parents and doing all.
Right,
You know what I mean? It's
right.
already comfortable. So it's like, all right, we already did all that. Like, and that's why. Okay, that's why a lot of them don't work. You know.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. Comfortable. Like when you comfortable with somebody, it don't. Sometimes it don't even matter how toxic you get
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because some people mentally get so toxic that space of what we would call hell or what we would call toxic is normal. It becomes normal.
Mm-hmm.
You're fighting every day like the Krayshawn and Blueface.
Yeah.
That shit is
Yeah.
normal at this point.
Mhm.
Like they're still beefing. I seen a video today. They're still beefing.
Very much
He's
so.
yelling, video camera. Yeah, that's not my baby. Da da da. She's still yelling at him. Like that shit is so normal to people, and it's kind of sad once you're in it. Because I've been in places where it's been real toxic, and
Mhm.
it became normal for me. Once you get out of it, and you could look from the outside looking in, you're just like, wow. Like kind of how you said when you read that book.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like, wow. Like that was me.
Mhm.
Like that was me going through all that same shit, and I thought I was fine. I
Well, were
thought it
you
was good.
comfortable or were you codependent?
Both.
I feel like using the term comfortable
Mhm.
can be have like a little bit of a negative connotation because you also don't want to be uncomfortable in the
Mhm.
relationship
Right.
you're in. Because if you're in a toxic like situation, I highly doubt your anxiety being heightened every single day and the stresses. I highly doubt it's comfortable per se, but it's familiar. It's
Mhm.
familiar. You know how to navigate through it, and you have the whatever situation you have with the person. More than likely, it's a codependency because you're just used to that person. So I don't know. I feel like that term comfortable, you shouldn't be uncomfortable in your relationship as well.
So what would you guys give people that have gotten out of relationships that whether it was toxic or not and become depressed about thinking that this was my person? Do you guys have any tools to give people or any suggestions to give people to use that are going through it? Maybe right now during the holiday season. Maybe last year they was with their girlfriend on the holiday season and everything's coming up on Snapchat or with their
Mhm.
boyfriend and shit like that. And they thought that they was their person. Would you give them any like just ideas, just methods of how to get through it?
I'm gonna turn on that camera because this is
Go
good
ahead.
content.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want it for you guys
Nah,
too.
Go ahead. Yeah,
I would say, easier said than done, but I would try to stay positive
Mhm.
and don't let it get you too down. From experience, all I can say is like every time I think like, wow, you're the greatest person in the world, like it just
They
so
gonna show
happens
they
that
ass.
they show their ass, they not. And the next person I meet is always better. Like, I don't know. Just
Yeah.
for me, like it always goes up after that. So it's like, great, I thought this is what I liked, I thought this is what I wanted, but that wasn't it. I realized it
Mhm.
wasn't it, and it usually doesn't get worse. So you also have to be open to wanting to meet other people and getting to know other people, because you may be stuck in something where you think that this is the greatest person in the world, and that person's not really that cool. So like, come on.
Right.
Some
Real
people
shit,
could
son.
feed you more, like.
For me, I definitely agree with that. I've been in that type of situation multiple times, so let me tell it. Chances are, if you're the one in the situation that's upset, probably you in the scenario were the one that had the big heart and you're very loving and kind. That wasn't the first time you fell in love, so it probably won't be the last. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
just always keep that in mind. There's gonna be somebody after. It's as the saying goes: when one door closes, another one opens. I had to learn that the hard way over the years. That like sometimes you have to say after that at least. Because I just recently went through something a scenario similar. Sit with yourself and actually ask yourself why you were with that person to begin with. What was the need that person was fulfilling at that time? What makes you feel so depressed that they're not dead? They weren't your. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really. It's not actually as much of an adjustment as you actually think it is. It's not like the person, what your parent per se or something of the sort. What was it that they fulfilled within you that you couldn't fulfill within yourself? That when you lost them, you lost yourself. You know what I mean? So,
right.
you know, turning inwards at that time is really your best case scenario.
Yeah, I agree. It's
Thank you.
it's all with you, like you know what I mean, like, and that was like my problem for a while. You know what I mean, like if you are genuinely happy with yourself and you are proud of who you are and you're confident, and if someone wants to walk out of your life, it's like let them go.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Let them go, because like they didn't value you enough. And if you have to beg someone, and you know, for guys, like, you know, it's called simping and shit like that, and you're sending text, like if the person wants to walk out of your life, no text message, no meme, no Instagram post you send them is gonna make them want you. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
they don't care. Untype that paragraph. They don't care.
And they might have needed to leave.
Right.
For you.
Yeah, and think of it this way as well. Sometimes it's not just about it being good for a good scenario for you. Maybe it wasn't good for them as well. Maybe it was for their better interest to not be in this because they're not ready, and it's just stunting their growth because they need to go figure out shit for themselves too and go through their own trials and tribulations separate. So
yeah, I think a lot of people also, like we only think people are placed in our lives to teach us a lesson, but we forget that, like, yo, we're in the world too, so we're the lesson in someone else's life.
Right.
You know, like we had to teach them a lesson, whether it was good or bad, and you kind of have to accept that. Like so many times that we selfishly just think like, all right, I learned my lesson from this person, but you forget, like, a relationship, it's two people. So like maybe you were the, you know, God used you as like a vessel to teach them something, and you don't see that. And it's hard to accept that, like, when you're in the moment and you feel the emotions and the feelings and shit like that. So I think that's like a big thing, is like just understanding that, like, yo, you play a role in other people's lives too. It's not just people playing a role in your life.
Yeah, and it's just natural for people to be selfish in moments like that, because it's your heart, it's your feelings, all of that. So it's hard. Like when you say it like that, it sounds perfect, because it's like, you're right. You may have been that lesson, whether it's good or bad. I don't know whose lesson I was with certain shit, but when I really think about it, but you know, it's like, it's true. It's not just always about you. There's two people, and then everybody you meet every day that you could play a huge part in somebody's life. Like you said, you post clips about stuff, losing your mom, and there's kids that lost their mom. I lost my pops, so I know how losing a parent feels.
Yeah.
But there's people all over the world that can see one clip and you can make their day. You could change their day. Kind of how some people go to church and listen to the gospel and stuff, and people get attached and start reading the Bible. It just takes one person, one vessel, to really spread one thing, to really get somebody's clock rolling. You know what I'm saying? The one thing I can say about my ex, that, you know, me and her didn't work out, but she pushed me closer to God. And not because of what she did, but actually because of who she introduced me to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that one thing started my clock and started everything going. And now it's changed me in a lot of ways, not in every way, but it's changed me in a lot of ways for the better.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like get cold when they get hurt, and then they push everyone away, and you know, they don't even allow people to actually love them the way that they should be loved, because they're holding on to that baggage and the trauma from their past relationship, and then they're bringing that to the next one. And I think that's why a lot of people, they don't have that mindset of like, yo, if you could post a clip on the internet, or you could just go talk to someone one day, like, and make their day. You're not only like helping one person, right? You're not just changing one life. Like when you make an impact on one person's life, everyone has a network. So not only are you impacting that person's going to go and take that positive energy, and they're going to spread it to all the other people in their circle. And then what are those people going to do? It's this domino effect. So a lot of people, you know, selfishly, they just shut off to the world. They're mean, they're cold, they don't want to help anyone. When it's like, yo, if you just are a good person to the old lady in the grocery store, maybe she's better to her grandchildren, and now her grandchildren are more happy at school. It's like people don't think, like, the universe, like all this shit is so connected. And, you know, for me to even like hear myself speak about this shit now is like a foreign language. I told you I was all basketball. Like all I cared was just being a hooper.
Right.
And then to like dive deep into this side, like I'm such more of an advocate now to this side of life, because like there's so many moving parts going on with just like relationships, and like I don't think you meet anyone on accident, and all these things tie in together, and it's like you have to be open to it. And the only way you're open to it is when you go and dive deep into who you are, so then you're not just worried about all the other shit that you've been through in the past.
Wow. I'm so glad you did the work, because you're saying so many things that people need to hear. Like, I even need to hear it. And I think I'm okay. But every time you say something, I'm like, oh my goodness, I needed to hear that.
Yeah, I can hear her in the corner like,
I'm going to rewatch this so many times. Like, wow. Yeah,
Right.
amazing.
Crying?
Everybody should do the work. Put the
crying?
time in.
You crying?
I feel like I've been crying the whole episode. Like, why am I a weirdo? Like, yeah.
I'm looking at it.
Ever since he started speaking, I'm just like so touched. It's so nice. I love this.
Thank you.
He's talented.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
So what's the goals for the podcast? Is there goals, or is it just kind of what you've been saying? Like, you don't want to put too much expectation.
Nah, like now I think we're at the point, like I really do think we could be like the biggest self-help podcast in the world, because we're relatable.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, I like Jay Shetty, like Think Like a Monk. Like that was the first book I listened to after like my heartbreak, you know? Like
Yeah.
I was literally I have a clip that I went on another person's podcast, and like I was literally driving Uber just to be with someone, because like I felt so alone after that. But during that, while I'm driving Uber 8 hours a day, like I'm listening to Think Like a Monk. So I got like Jay Shetty in my ear, right? But I say that to say like Jay Shetty, he's amazing. Like I love him. He's not that relatable. Like the dude was a monk. He went to a monastery. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he not the everyday person can relate to that, you know?
Right.
And then you look at the Diary of a CEOs and all these like self-help podcasts, Jordan Peterson, like they're hard to relate to. They're older and stuff like that. We're in the prime of our life. We're 26 and it's like bro therapy, right? But like we also can speak to women too, because like we're not the, you know, the red pill guys like Tate and, you know, Justin Waller and Sneeko and them either.
Yeah.
You know, we can see both sides, and we're respectful when we speak and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I think a lot of people, that's why we've, you know, been able to get such a following and have so many people support us, because people actually like they see themselves in us, because that's our main thing. Like we never want to switch up. We never want to change. We're like, yo, at the end of the day, like we were like the Long Island kids that are going to go out and like go to, like we just got back from LA last month. Like we interviewed like 5 of the biggest people in the world in their respective craft. To think that you are like,
Wow.
like our whole goal with this is to like show people that like you can change the narrative. Like you don't have to go the traditional route. Like I'm a college graduate. I'm not doing anything with my degree. And it's so weird and it's hard, because a lot of people look at college as like, oh, you're in college, like you're successful. You know, oh, you have a corporate job, like you're successful. And it's like majority of those people are fucking miserable. So
I sure am. I'm so miserable at this corporate job.
you know,
Fuck
so
this
like,
shit. Fuck my degrees.
but that's what we try to like tell these kids. Like I'm not telling you to like, but it's like you have to sacrifice sometimes. Like we didn't make money for a while. Like bro, my co-host still sleeps on the fucking floor in our studio. He does not have a bed. He sleeps on the floor in our studio, has the blanket. Like when we go do a pod, we got to pick up the sheets and the blanket and the pillow, put it on the side, and then we shoot the pod.
Grinding.
Yeah.
You know, but that you have to be willing to
I just need
accept
to hear
that.
that. Where I'm at, like with modeling and stuff, it's like, damn, like I don't have a degree or anything. So sometimes I'll be like, damn, like I get down on myself because I'm like, well, at this age, I probably have this degree and this if I just kept going. And it's like, nah, it just wasn't the path. Like that's not for me. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
that's
amazing.
That's our biggest thing is like just follow what you're passionate about. You know what I mean? Like do what you love to do. You can always go back and get a job. Always. You can always go find a job and make a, you know, a salary to afford, you know, a car and payment, you know, maybe not support a whole family, whatever. But then you work your way up. Like there's always time to go back and do that. There's not time to go back and do this. It's like this is the time that we have to do it. So and I'm lucky, you know what I mean? Like my dad supports me, you know, like my dad supports me. He helps me out, you know, he believes in me and stuff like that. And but like we even said it the other day, like people don't see the shit that goes in on the back end. Like they just see the pod. Like
They
bro,
don't, man.
we're doing fucking everything to like just make money. You know what I mean? Like my co-host just did like some Halloween shoot for next year's Christmas for next year's Halloween for Spirit Halloween. Like he's wearing a fucking, you know, Christmas outfit and a Scream costume to make $600 for the day. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing videography. I was working at LA Fitness for the last year and a half, 5 a.m. graveyard shift. What I would do, I'd bring my laptop in there and edit. I'd open the gym 4:45 a.m. and I'd edit all the podcasts for 4 hours.
Yeah.
You know, so like people don't see that shit. Like, bro, we still try to do shit to make money on the side because the podcast doesn't fully. But to go back to like your original question, like that's why we see this thing being the biggest self-help podcast like in the world is just just because we can resonate and people can resonate with us of the daily grind of not being successful, of like eating shit for years and years and years, and then finally making it.
And
So-
being genuine too. Like you're a genuine person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes, like you said, just goes a long way. When people watch it, they not looking at you and being like, he's fronting,
Right.
he's lying.
Yeah.
They're like, no, this is real genuine. You know what I'm saying? Feeling genuine talk, like everything like that. You know what I'm saying? So if there's not, obviously you have that of being number one as far as that. What's like a guest you would love to interview? If you had to pick one guest, what's a guest you would love to interview?
It's hard. I remember when we were in Miami, like we wrote on the whiteboard like our top 10 guests that we both wanted, and it's hard to pick one guest. I mean, really, I would probably pick this guy Mike, the first podcast clip I ever seen. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but his rap name was Mike Stud. When he first started, he was a pitcher at Duke,
Okay.
freshman of the year, got Tommy John, started rapping in his dorm with Marcus Stroman.
I know Marcus Stroman.
Okay, that's his best friend.
okay.
So Stroman was there, so they started making music in the dorm.
Mm-hmm.
He was like the white boy frat rapper, like Asher Roth during that time. And then he dated Jose Canseco's daughter, Josie Canseco, and they dated for 4 years. She broke his heart. He dove into spirituality, and that was the podcast that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
So full circle moment. This is why I started the pod with like, I don't know why we question it. It's crazy. I actually had his videographer on my podcast on episode 14. Then we went and filmed his concert in New York, met him backstage. Like I literally have like his like Woosah right here. That's one of his songs he just dropped, means be calm. I always have it here. I have his logo right here. I have YNK, means you never know. Like you never know what's going to happen. Like those are all his sayings.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple months ago, I get a group text from my co-host and his videographer, and they're like, yo, do you want to run Mike's TikTok?
Wow.
I said,
That's
what?
fire.
I said, what do you
Wow.
mean? They said, yeah, we love what you guys are doing with your TikTok. We want you to run Mike's.
Shit.
Wow.
So I was running my favorite artist, the guy that made me start the podcast. I literally have his
Wow.
TikTok still logged in on my
That's what's
phone,
up.
and I was posting for him, and I'm getting all the I'm in their Dropbox, and like I'm running his social media account.
That's hard.
That's
So I'd
fire.
Yeah, so I'd say he's probably my number one guest that I would love to have on, just because he's literally the sole reason this entire thing started.
Nah, that's hard, bro. That's
Who
living
is
the
this
dream.
guy? Like,
Right.
who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah. And what's funny is I just came across your podcast on Instagram. It was like on my For You,
Really?
on my podcast page. Yeah, man. And I started watching, started seeing your reels, and that's why I wrote to you, because I was like, nah, this is dope. And like for me, I'm always trying to learn, like constantly trying to learn, because in a way, podcasting is such a craft that you could be really good in. And it's not for everybody. Like anybody can talk, and there's a lot of people that got a mic, but not everybody should have a mic, if we're being honest. Like there's some people that really put out some bullshit.
Yeah, I was
Of
You
gonna
know what I'm
say.
saying? Like as
course.
much as we're putting out good stuff, there's people that put out the bullshit. So yeah, man, you resonated, and that's why I reached out to you too. Was like, nah, I could definitely learn. You know what I'm saying? Just learning. And then I seen the way you speak and everything. Like she said, you know what I'm saying? Like as soon as you came in here, she was locked in. So it's there's people, there's souls like that just automatically do that. So I think, flowers should be given to you. Obviously,
Mhm.
this ain't like
Yeah.
that. You know what I'm
Thank you.
saying? This ain't like, this is far from the end for y'all. Y'all about to go up even more. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So y'all should definitely be, celebrated for that, man. Y'all
Yeah,
work
appreciate
hard.
that.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
I'm excited
you.
to see what you
Yes,
guys do.
very
Can-
excited.
Can you do me one thing before we get out of here? Can you please let everybody know the podcast name, where they can find the podcast, the TikTok, everything? for
Yeah,
everybody?
so podcast is called The Journey Podcast. It is we're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, TikTok is The Journey Podcast with 2 underscores, Instagram at The Journey Podcast, and we post weekly, and we're just we're not gonna slow down, like this
Hell
is
no.
our like we felt like we were just getting started, like this was year 1, and to have the growth that we had, it's a blessing. Like we're just so like fortunate, we're so happy, and during the whole process it was very easy to get down on ourselves. There was a lot of times where we're just like, why is this happening, or why, like, there's so many things that have transpired over the last year, but to look back and to see the growth in just year one as a podcast it's something, you know, we can't even explain, and that's why we're just so happy we do it and we love it. So yeah, at the Journey Podcast on all platforms, and yeah, go check it out.
Shout out to you and your co-host,
Yeah.
man. Y'all doing y'all thing, man. Check them out. This is another episode of the Culture Shock Podcast. We out of here. Thank you, my man. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Appreciate you having me.
Later.